Hi friends, it's week 5 and we are reviewing sequencing. So if you have trouble or you need a little bit of a review before you start your assignment, I'm going to go over this with you to give you some tips. Eastern influence. The first Asian immigrants to enter the United States were from China, and some came as early as the 1700s. But most came looking for gold in California in the mid-1800s. The Chinese brought their culture. They also brought the skills to perform many jobs. Their influence in those early years is still felt today. Culture and adapting. In 1848, word spread across the world that gold had been found in the United States. The gold rush began in the West. Thousands of people rushed to California dreaming of a better life. The Chinese came as well. The Chinese brought their culture to America. They had their own language and belief systems to share. They shared their customs and food with the West. In the search for gold, it was every man for himself. At first, the Chinese had no trouble finding gold, but then all good things must come to an end. The people looked for gold increased. Gold became harder to find. At last, the Chinese found themselves looking for other ways to make money. They opened shops for work. They also ran cleaning and laundry services. Sharing skills. Many of the Chinese that came from farming areas in China. In the 1850s, they used their skills in California. They grew food close to home and sold it door to door. Citrus fruits, peanuts, and rice were among the things that they grew. The Chinese also helped to make California a good place for fishing. Many of the Chinese were experts. They fished for cod, flounder, and shark. They also took oysters and mussels from the water. They sold their food in local markets. They also salt-dried it and shipped it to other areas. A strong work ethic. The Chinese showed the hard work pays off. They played a vital role in the first Transcontinental Railroad in America. It was built from 1863 to 1869. It was the first railroad to connect the East and the West. By 1868, most of the thousands of workers on the railroad were Chinese. They laid track across rivers and valleys. They built tunnels through mountain ranges. Harsh weather and long days were part of the job. With the railroad came trade across the country. The West had crops that the East wanted. Farms grew in size and farmers were needed. The Chinese were called upon to help farm the land. Crops were then sent east. The Chinese had a big influence on life in the West. They helped shape the country into what it is today. A different kind of medicine. Medicine and cures in the 1800s in America were not advanced. Rules for drugs were not set. The Chinese brought time-tested herbs for medicine. They had herbal treatments that had been around for thousands of years. Herbs from Asia are still often used today. People believe that they have little or no side effects. Our first question says, according to the sequencing of the text, what happened first in 1848? So I'm going to go back to the passage. And as I read through, I'm going to skim and look. 1700s, 1800s, 1848. So what happened first? In 1848, word spread across the world that gold had been found in the United States. So before the Chinese could come, they had to hear about the gold being found. So when I go back to my worksheet, I said, using my question to help me, word spread that gold had been found in the United States. So that was the first thing that happened in 1848. What important event happened later from 1863 to 1869? So now I'm going to go back, 1848, 1850s, 1863 to 1869. They played a vital role in the first Transcontinental Railroad in America. It was built from 1863 to 69, and it was the first railroad to connect the East and the West. So my question that I just had was, sorry, just give me a sec. Here we go. What important event happened later from 1863 to 69? So I went back to the passage I had here, and I underlined and rewrote my answer. From 1863 to 1869, the first transcontinental railroad connecting the east to the west was built in America. So I went straight out of my text to figure out what happened at that time period. The last question, how do you know that the information in the text is presented in time order? So I went back to the very beginning and looked at what it gave me. It starts talking in the 1700s. Then I went to 1848. From there, it talks about the 1850s. In the next paragraph, we're talking about 1863 to 1869. And then at the bottom, it's talking about cures throughout the entire 1800s. So that would take it to the end of the 1800s. When I look at all the dates I circled, they go in order. So the answer to my final question, the paragraphs start in the 1700s, then discuss 1848, 1850s, 1863 to 1869, and the rest of the 1800s. These years are in order. So it proves it by looking at the order of the paragraphs and the order of the years in which they discuss their information. I hope that helps you with your sequencing. As always, if you have any questions, you know how to reach out to me or to any of the other fourth grade teachers. Take care, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.